Our village is proud of our small mouth. Little sister's cherry mouth is rare in 100 years. The whole village offered her delicious food and drinks. However, on the day she came of age, my mother sewed her mouth shut with a needle and thread. And then something incredible happened. The respected elders in the village said that the younger sister would bring good luck to the village, so they brought her a bowl of nourishing soup every day. Today, Jusao delivered soup medicine to my younger sister. My mother proudly helped my sister up. The bitter decoction flowed down my sister's mouth and into her stomach, causing her to cough several times in a row. In a few minutes, my younger sister's cheeks began to turn red. Her forehead was burning, and she twisted her body in pain on the bed. I felt sorry for her. Every time my younger sister drank the decoction, she would feel uncomfortable for several days, so I advised my mother not to let her drink it again. But my mother slapped me and roared at me, "You useless loser. What nonsense are you talking about?" Jusao quickly pulled me aside and said, "Zitang, don't ruin your sister's good luck. This is all her good luck. Other girls don't even want it." I lowered my head in silence. Yes, I was criticized by my family because my mouth was not small enough. But is this really a blessing for my younger sister? After much consideration, I decided to find a way to help her reduce her pain. That night, while my mother was asleep, I secretly went to my sister's room. The painful howl of the younger sister filled the entire room. Just then, footsteps sounded behind me. My lower back was kicked hard. My forehead hit the wooden table next to me. Blood blurred my eyes, and severe pain came with it. My mother twisted my ear and shouted with a ferocious face, "What do you want to do? Who let you touch her at this time? You almost ruined the good luck of the whole village." My mother ignored my sister's painful call and picked up a pole to hit me. The neighbors around me heard the noise and came to the yard to persuade my mother not to hit me. But as soon as she heard that I entered my sister's room and disrupted her quiet time alone, she pointed and said, "You almost ruined your sister. Your sister has such a good life. Are you jealous, girl?" This sentence seems to remind my mother. She turned around and took a few ragged clothes and threw them at the door. "Useless waste. Don't occupy your rice bowl at home in the future." I hugged my clothes and sobbed with some grievance, and fortunately walked out of the house and knelt outside the door. Just then, several village elders hurriedly came to my house and breathed a sigh of relief when they knew I hadn't met my sister. Su Sanyi touched his beard and said thoughtfully, "This is not a problem. It's better to seal the kill early. Tomorrow, Ping Washington will become an adult. Let's seal the kill tomorrow." Upon hearing this, I was stunned in place like being struck by lightning. Sealing the kill is to repeatedly pierce the upper and lower lips with a red-hot iron needle, and finally tighten and tie the thread to seal the small mouth, leaving only 2 centimeters of space for eating, drinking, and talking. But my younger sister is the luckiest girl. Why did Su Sanyi say he would seal the kill for her? On a pitch-black night, no matter how I pounded on the courtyard door, no one paid attention. I could only find an abandoned house to live in with my clothes. I had many nightmares at night, and coincidentally, in each dream, I could see my sister lying in a pool of blood. It wasn't until the sound of gongs and drums woke me up that I got up and gasped for breath. I came to the village road and saw several children shouting with candy. What happened in the village? I grabbed one of them and asked. I didn't expect these kids to look at me in surprise. "Your younger sister is going to seal the kill. They have already gone to the ancestral temple. Why are you still here, little cousin?" Upon hearing this, I quickly ran towards the direction of the ancestral temple. When I squeezed in from the crowd of onlookers, my sister was already lying on a reed mat, her hands and feet firmly tied. My mother is using an iron needle to perform our village's unique secret method of sealing women's mouths. Standing straight in front of the ancestral temple, my mother said loudly, When the kill is opened in the future, our village's good luck will come." Susanyi stood up and nodded. "That's right. The reason why we always choose girls with small mouths is to let our village live a good life. After 99 days of closing the kill, we can start our good luck." When the villagers heard it, everyone's face was filled with excited smiles. As the crowd gradually dispersed, the younger sister was sent to the attic of the ancestral temple. Susanyi said that all the delicious food in the village must be provided to her. "I was worried about my sister's health and wanted to take her away, but when I finally climbed to the second floor of the ancestral temple, the weak younger sister snorted coldly and then scolded me. 'Don't pretend, don't think I don't know what you're up to.' I was stunned for a moment. 'Little sister, I just wanted to save you.' She gave me a sideways glance and said fiercely, 'Song Shatong, you've had enough. I know my mother has always been biased since I was a child. She provided me with good food and drink at home. Last time, you wanted to ruin my good luck with that broken toy. Now, when you see me enjoying everything in the village, are you pretending to take it away?' My younger sister's face was pale, and there was sweat on her forehead. I desperately explained to her that I absolutely cannot stay in this place anymore. But she was like she was possessed, thinking that I would harm him. 'Song Shatong, you are no longer part of our family. Get as far away as possible and don't try to take away my blessings.' My younger sister said these words and turned around with difficulty, facing away from me. 'Time is urgent. Someone will come to deliver food soon. We cannot stay here for too long.' I can't persuade my younger sister, so I can only leave first and then make plans. But I didn't expect that everything my sister received would make those people in the village jealous and crazy. Every morning, villagers bring their own daughters to the front of the ancestral temple. 'Hey, Susanyi, can you also show our child at home?' The girl didn't look good in the past 2 years, but now her mouth has become small. They took off the gauze on the girl's face in broad daylight, completely ignoring the trembling and fear of the girl in front of them. Susanyi frowned, but when his gaze moved to the mouths of those girls, he suddenly clicked and asked, 'What are you doing?' The women smiled shyly and said, 'We also want to live a good life in the village. We came up with a plan to sew half of our little mouth with a needle and thread. You see, we are small enough now. Can't we give our family more meat to eat? There are still 2 boys growing up at home.' I stood by and heard these words, unable to help but feel a chill down my back. It turned out that those girls were trembling not because they were afraid, but because they were in too much pain. The blood had coagulated into black and red scabs, tightly sticking to the corners of their forcibly sewn mouths. Susanyi snorted and said, 'The blessings bestowed by heaven cannot be obtained by doing this.' Before he could finish speaking, a weak figure ran out of the ancestral temple. My younger sister's hair was messy, and she shouted with hatred to the group of people, 'Stop dreaming. Only I am the real little mouth. If you create a fake, you will be punished. If you want your daughter to argue with me, don't be and reflect on your own behavior.' Those women were scolded badly. Their faces were red, and their necks were thick, and they wanted to argue a few words, but they were all stopped by Susanyi. 'Chopping, calm down. Your body is precious in our village now. You must take good care of it and don't compare yourself to these people.' Those people saw that they had no chance and scattered back home one after another, leaving only a few girls enduring the pain slowly, pressing the bloody gauze back on the wound and trembling back. My younger sister's cursing gradually decreased, and I secretly watched her with mixed emotions. Unexpectedly, her sharp eyes still caught my figure. The sharp voice fell in my ear, and you quickly got out, 'Don't think you can take advantage of me just because you are my sister.' After speaking, she and Susan turned around and returned to the ancestral hall. The heavy sound of the door closing seemed to hit my chest, making me almost unable to breathe. If possible, I really hope that the day of opening the kill can come slower. These days I always find opportunities to climb to the second floor of the ancestral temple and take a look at my sister through the window. Every time I lie outside the window, I can see the village sending big fish and meat to my sister's room. Her body has recovered a lot, and her chest is even more swollen. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was the day to open the kill for my sister. On the night of the kill opening, everyone gathered at the entrance of the ancestral temple, and the eyes of men, women, and children in the village were filled with the desire for good luck. Susan even had people hang red silk inside and outside the ancestral hall, and loudly said in front of everyone that our village has not been able to recover since the drought, but now everything is going to change. We finally found a girl with a mouth as small as a needle according to the holy book. As long as we complete the kill opening ceremony today, we will have endless blessings in the future. My ears were filled with mixed shouts, but I looked around and didn't see my sister's figure. Several elders offered incense to their ancestors as usual, and the sky had completely darkened. Chenbo, who had always been quiet, took out a bamboo flute from his pocket, and soon he blew a strange melody from his mouth. The moonlight elongated the figures of everyone, and everyone held their breath and dared not make any sound. A solemn sound gradually sounded in the surrounding wild grass, and a fishy smell filled the air. Su San Yi, who stood in front of the crowd, looked more and more excited as Chen Bo's bamboo flute became more and more urgent. Things in the grass began to move uneasily. My mother threw a blood-stained handkerchief into the bushes, and suddenly a group of dense shadows quickly flashed before my eyes, and the sound of crawling was particularly harsh. The hairs on my body stood up one by one until this group of things ran to the entrance of the ancestral temple, and I saw clearly through the light that they were countless red-haired mice. They are all large in size, with slender and wet tails as if they had just crawled out of a stinky ditch. I didn't understand why Chenbo wanted to attract these things. The next second, the group of mice crawled towards the second floor where their sister was, and soon screams came from the second floor of the ancestral temple. In the quiet night, the sound of mice grinding their teeth was infinitely magnified, and everyone's face was filled with shock and fear. Only those elders' smiles grew stronger and stronger. I couldn't help but want to ask clearly, but Su San Yi had already called several strong and round women to surround me tightly. The cries became sharper and sharper, and I seemed to imagine the scene of those mice gnawing through the skin and flesh. Several girls around were also trembling with fear, and then they were slapped a few times. A worthless loser who can't compete for opportunities and still has the face to eat at home. If he had a small mouth like shopping, I could drink and eat meat every day. My younger sister's cries lasted for most of the night, until it was light outside when I saw the group of mice quickly crawl out and disappear into the distance, their fur becoming even more bright red and dazzling. Su San Yi sent someone in to check the situation, then waved to everyone to signal quietness. He said with a happy face, "Chi Shu Linmen Po Manafu. From now on, our village's blessings will be endless." When the villagers heard this, they immediately woke up from their confusion. They only heard the word blessing in their ears, but they didn't expect a kill to be so effective. Su San Yi has spoken, it must be true. In the future, maybe everyone in our village will be rich. Then we will go to the neighboring village to find some girls with big butts for my son to raise. A group of people cheered and thanked the elders, and some even came up to my mother to compliment her. No one cares about my sister's life or death, but it doesn't matter. I can take her away and leave this place. I wiped away the tears from the corner of my eyes and calculated that by now my sister should be useless to these people. No matter how lucky she is, let them enjoy it. Just as I was about to walk up to the second floor, several lustful-eyed men whispered something in Su San Yi's ear. Su San Yi's eyes turned and he nodded and the man immediately excitedly walked towards his sister's room. "What do you want to do? Speak up." "That's my sister's room." I blocked them tightly through the wooden door. I could even hear my sister's painful groans inside. But the strength of these men was too great. They tore me apart with red eyes, rushed into my sister's room, and immediately locked it. No matter how I stand outside the door and curse, it's useless. I collapse on the ground, watching the villagers gradually come and go recklessly. Tears blurred my vision and fell silently on the ground, but I never expected to see my sister again. When I stood behind my younger sister, she was squatting on the ground, stuffing raw rice into her mouth one by one, with a heavy chain around her neck and her clothes torn to pieces. I couldn't help but call out "little sister" softly. When she heard my voice, her figure stiffened. When she slowly turned around, I was so scared that I almost exclaimed. Her crimson eyes felt like blood would jump out in the next second. Her cheeks swelled terrifyingly, and she didn't know how many rice grains she had stuffed in. The scariest thing is that even my sister's lips have grown several long beards. "What's going on?" I broke down and pulled her hand away, not letting my sister eat the raw rice anymore. But she couldn't control herself and reached out to grab the ground. "Little sister, speak up. Why has your body become like this?" I stand by and watch her mechanically stuff raw rice into her mouth. In my grief and anger, I tried my best to break the chain, but it was too thick. My hands were blistered and I was holding a chain. My younger sister had tears on her face, reached out to stop me, and said with a bitter smile, "Sister, it's too late." After leaving the ancestral temple, I was so angry that I trembled all over. I didn't know what kind of harm these people wanted to cause to my sister, but from what she said, the targets of those clan elders were not just him. Back in the abandoned house, I blamed myself so much that I wanted to hit the wall. Last time, I should have knocked my younger sister unconscious and taken her away. I knew she had been kind since childhood. Why did she waver when she heard a few hurtful words against her will? Every time my younger sister cries out not to let others take away her blessings, it's not because she's greedy for those big fish and meat, but because she's afraid that other girls will suffer like her. I took a few deep breaths, calmed down and thought, at this point I have no other way to go. I can only calm down and find out the plot of the elders, so that I can completely save my sister. I thought those blessings were all used to deceive the villagers, but what happened next became more and more alarming. At first, it was Ju's husband who went into the river to catch a whole bag of fish. Everyone was envious, and it was considered a blessing from our ancestors to catch only 3 to 5 fish on weekdays. But this time the village is really like a blessing from heaven. Every household can harvest a lot in the river, and for half a month, every courtyard gate is lit up with salted fish. The children used to drool when they heard about fish soup, but now they are tired of it and shake their heads when they smell the fishy smell. Moreover, many women often go to the mountains to dig wild vegetables to make a living. During this time, they could pick all kinds of fresh mushrooms every time they went up the mountain, and some of them could even dig up rare wild ginseng. Everyone in the village was talking about worldly blessings and good luck, and several clan elders were like gods in their hearts. I don't know who led the way, but every morning and evening, the villagers gather in front of the ancestral temple to thank them, who led us to a good life. 5 elders. Are you willing to follow them and get something for nothing? Yes, very willing, shouting slogans in unison. I have never seen such an excited expression in the eyes of the villagers. At this moment, I was a little confused and doubtful, wondering if everything the elders did was really to help the village get rid of poverty. But then Su Sanyi's words made me shudder. He slowly stood up, took out a book from his pocket and held it up. This book is the sacred book left by our ancestors in the village. Everything we do depends on his guidance to succeed. Now it has been proven that all of this is not wrong. Good luck has indeed come to our village. So we need to continue according to the method in the book. Only in this way can we ensure that good luck will always be there. Are ya willing? When the villagers heard this, they shouted as if hyped up. Susanyi waved his hand in satisfaction, and Chenbo took the book and started reading it to everyone. The female body is yin by nature, so it is necessary to seal the kill in time to avoid disasters, accumulate blessings for the father and brothers, and follow the guidance without distractions to gather at home. Listening, I vaguely felt that the atmosphere around me was not right. When I looked up, I found that many people were turning their attention to their own girls. Chu Sao looked at her Zihua coldly. No wonder your brother couldn't find a woman. It turned out that he didn't lock you up. All the girls in the village were trembling with fear, but no one cared about her life. The villagers finally reached out their claws to their own flesh and blood. The tragedy of sealing the kill once again occurred, and the villagers held down the girls and inserted needles and thread into their crying mouths. The rest of the people knelt on the ground, praying for the so-called holy book to bring blessings again. The 5 elders stood on the stage and looked at the group of people with satisfaction, nodding. I dare not stay in place anymore, afraid that they will notice me. Just as I ran to the back door of the ancestral temple, these red mice appeared again. Taking advantage of the fact that there was no one around, I ran along with them. This group of red mice was very fast, as if they had been trained, and quickly ran towards the west. I followed closely behind until I saw them stop by a dry well. The villagers all say that this dry well has been haunted by ghosts. In the past, people always drown, but later it was abandoned and gradually dried up. Just then, a large red mouse crawled into the dry well first, and the rest lined up in a line, drilling into the dry well like going home. I waited for a long time, but didn't see them come out. When I curiously approached, I found that someone had put a ladder in the well. It was pitch black inside, but I could vaguely see a passage. A thought flashed through my mind. Could it be related to the secrets of the elders? After careful consideration, I decided to go down and take a look. There was a strange smell in the air underground. Following the passage, you can hear the sound of red mice crawling not far away. The walls around are made of bricks, and there are candlesticks every once in a while. I bent down and walked for a while before suddenly seeing the light. This is a basement with 5 water tanks in the center of the ground. I nervously approached and saw that they were all densely packed with red mice. Just then, a familiar voice came from the small wooden door opposite. The effect has been good recently, but it's still not enough. We must make them believe more devoutly. This voice sounds clearly like Susanyi, and I always feel like I've touched on some big secret. As expected, Chenbo inside also spoke up. Now the ability of the red mouse is limited, and it has already cost a lot to do so. If you want these people to believe more, it is better to. He paused for a moment before continuing. Why don't we use all the waste medicine used in the experiment, and those girls might as well receive them in advance and keep them for us to enjoy slowly. Everyone in the room praised him softly when they heard this. I was worried that they would come out at any time, so I wanted to take the opportunity to leave first and come back to check when no one was around. Who knew that when I turned around, I accidentally bumped into something? Fortunately, the sound was very small and did not alarm the clan elders inside. I looked down and saw that it was the holy book. When I flipped through the pages, the sharp paper accidentally cut my finger. I carefully put it back in place and then walked towards the wellhead. All of this is extremely absurd. Such brand new paper is clearly just an excuse they made up to deceive the villagers. But what I can't figure out is what their plan is. The village was very lively for a few days. The elders announced in front of everyone that the holy book felt the devotion of the villagers. So in order to help everyone get rid of their suffering, they specially gave a good remedy in their dreams. As long as they drink the decoction, their health will gradually improve. When everyone heard this, they all exploded. Those elderly people who had been suffering from cough for a long time stayed in front of the ancestral temple before dawn just to ask for a bowl of medicine. Every household regarded it as a rare thing, even if they were not sick. They wanted to share a bowl to drive away the disease and eliminate the disaster. Jusa pushed aside the crowd, squeezed to the front, and 3 bowls for her son. Be good, drink more. This is bestowed by the Holy Book. The more you drink, the more blessings you will have. Where did they find these medicines? Miraculously, many elderly people in the village drank them for several days, and their symptoms really improved, which made everyone believe in the Holy Book more firmly. Susanye took the opportunity to announce that in order to facilitate control, all the female dolls sealed in the kill will be set to the ancestral temple to avoid bad luck and collision with good luck. The villagers had long despised them for eating their own food, and immediately nodded excitedly upon hearing this. The recent events have been somewhat unbelievable. I thought about it and decided to tell my sister about these things while I was peeking at her. Maybe there will be some clues. When I bypassed the guard and crawled into my sister's room, my nose still felt sour. Her appearance became more and more unfamiliar and terrifying. Her cheeks narrowed, her mouth particularly protruding, and there was a long thin tail dragging behind her. From behind, she looked more and more like those red mice. Seeing me, my younger sister's mouth curved into a stiff smile, and I told her all about the recent actions of the elders. I really can't understand. By deceiving the villagers like this, what benefits can they get? They are just worshipped as gods by those people, but they don't have much money to scrape into their pockets. My younger sister sighed, and there was a hint of coldness in her crimson eyes. She looked at me and said, "For the sake of survival." Chenbo came to me 2 days ago, and he accidentally dropped a yellow note on his body. I secretly looked at it when no one was around, and there were many outlines on it. But I found a few important words, that is, the red rat resurrection method. I frowned. They were using those red mice. My younger sister nodded. Yes, they made me into a medicine, and those villagers should be the ingredients. All of this is because the elders of the clan are dying and want to prolong their lives. I suddenly thought of the cough I heard in the dry well, and the useless medicine mentioned by Chen Boti. Do they know that time is running out and that the prescriptions they developed before are ineffective, so they found this evil method? I looked at my younger sister and nervously asked if there was a way to crack it written on that piece of paper. She shook her head. Such an important thing shouldn't be carried with her, but I came up with a plan. After speaking, my sister leaned over and whispered a few words in my ear. Every day I hide in the dark and observe the movements of the village, from old men in their 70s and 80s to children age 3. Everyone is obsessed with and worships the Holy Book. Several elders claim that in order to give thanks for the blessings of the Holy Book, a grand sacrifice ceremony was held. When the villagers heard this, they immediately donated all the money they had saved at home, hoping that their sincerity could be conveyed to the Holy Book. Their eyes became more and more dull, only willing to obey the orders of the clan elders, and the box was quickly filled. Susanyi stood up and said sincerely, "It seems that everyone in our village is blessed. Thank you for everything that the Holy Book has brought us. I have decided to hold a sacrifice ceremony in 3 days." Everyone said it was good, and there were passionate shouts from the audience. Okay, looking at the madness on the villagers' faces, I always have a strong premonition in my heart that the day of sacrifice is the day when the elders are ready to take action. The sky was dim, and the villagers were busy like hype, up until the sun rose and the elders appeared on the stage. Susanyi said with tears in his eyes, "I believe everyone's sincerity can be sensed by the Holy Book. In order to be grateful for the Holy Book and to continue to receive its blessings as a role model, I will sacrifice my own blood to the Holy Book." After speaking, several people brought a large iron pot to the stage and saw Susanyi cut his own arm with a knife, and blood flowed into the pot along the skin. The people seemed to be inspired and scrambled to cut their bodies and let the blood drip in. At this moment, countless red mice crawled out from around and quietly climbed onto the bodies of the villagers. Some people were afraid and wanted to shake it off, but Susanyi said it was the incarnation of the Holy Book. It was because of them that he opened the kill for his sister and brought good luck to the village. The rats smelled the blood and gnawed on the wounds on the villagers. At first, some people frowned, but gradually they seemed to feel no pain, and a strange and comfortable smile appeared on their faces. Chusa's situation is the most serious. She kept muttering the book of Thanksgiving in her mouth. In order to give up more of her body, she, like others, began to grow. I hid on the rooftop next to me, tightly covering my mouth, afraid of exclaiming in the next second. There is only one exception, Tan, that is my mother. Since sending her sister to the ancestral temple, she has been focusing on her own enjoyment all day and has hardly participated in these things. Perhaps it is because of this that my mother did not cut her body just now, and the red mouse naturally did not climb onto her. She screamed and wanted to escape, but was stopped by Susanyi. Shopping's mother, where are you going? The gloomy voice fell into the ears of the villagers like an instruction. Everyone stood still and looked at my mother. They seemed to have noticed something unusual, and everyone looked coldly at my mother. Sacrifice, sacrifice, the neat shouts scared my mother to sit still, struggling to use her sister as a shield again. But these lunatics didn't give her a chance. When my mother was dragged to the iron pot, her body was already incomplete, leaving only terrified eyes that hadn't closed yet. When the sun rose above their heads, the red mice finally crawled away from the villagers. In an instant, screams echoed in front of the ancestral temple, and the self-inflicted pain doubled on them, causing many people to faint on the spot. The scene in front of us is simply hell on earth. Several clan members couldn't help but burst into laughter. These fools actually believe in some holy book. Our medicine has been brewed, and we can finally get rid of this old bone. Chenbo blew the bamboo flute again, and the red rats crawled into the iron pot, devouring the bones and meat inside. Not long after, the 5 elders coincidentally burped. Their hands and feet began to contract rapidly, and a long tail grew behind them. The most shocking thing was that their faces were getting younger and younger. So this is their ultimate plan, from choosing a girl with a small mouth to sealing the kill, step by step bewitching everyone, and finally using it for themselves. Susanyi is very satisfied with his current appearance. He gestured to the other people and said, "Let's go. We can't do without the medicine. Otherwise, how can we enjoy ourselves with so many girls left?" They walked towards the ancestral temple with laughter, just like dirty and ugly fat mice. But unfortunately, the abacus was probably going to be empty. At the moment when the elders pushed open the door of their younger sister's room, they were greeted by countless black cats. The suppression of their nature made them stiff in place, trembling with their limbs and unable to get rid of them. Those black cats reached out their claws and pounced on them without any fear. Despite the huge difference in size, they did not fall behind. This is the solution that my sister came up with. No matter how evil something is, it cannot escape the restraint of natural enemies. Moreover, when no one was paying attention, I quietly released the village girls and let them find the most spiritual black cat. Not only that, I remember there was an ancient book in the village that recorded the spirit channeling method of black cats. I didn't expect that after setting out the formation as written above, it really brought more cat souls. Susanyi resisted with both hands and gritted his teeth, shouting, "You bunch of despicable people, you actually want to kill us." Their rat bodies have not yet fully transformed, and now they are bitten by black cats with wounds. Watching them slowly return to their elderly bodies How can they be content? Chenbo endured the pain and sneered, "Our bodies are already connected to the soul of the red mouse. This can only cause us some superficial injuries. You have wasted your efforts." The girls next to them couldn't help but tremble with fear when they heard this. If these people have another chance to turn things around, what awaits us will be endless torture. Just then, the chain around my younger sister's neck was finally smashed open by everyone with an axe. She looked at me and asked, "Sis, did you bring the things I asked you to prepare?" I quickly nodded and handed him the oil pot in my arms. Susan Yi's face changed instantly. "You don't care about your life anymore. Shopping? Don't do anything stupid. Let's discuss it. You have long been a drug trigger. If we really die, you will also die with us." Upon hearing this, I immediately wanted to take back the oil pot from my younger sister's hand. Unexpectedly, she took a few steps back and smiled self-mockingly with a look of sadness in her eyes. "Sister, I can't go out. Look at me with a mouse's tail and whiskers. I don't want to live anymore, but I want to save my life and bury them with them." After speaking, I pushed the girls around me out and shouted, "Take my sister away. Leave this place no matter what, and never come back." I cried and wanted to rush in to save her, but my arms were held tightly until they dragged me downstairs. A raging fire broke out in my sister's room, and the smell of burnt hair accompanied the screams of the elders, constantly invading my ears and nose. "Little cousin, let's go quickly. The fire will soon burn down the ancestral temple." They grabbed my hand and walked out without saying a word. Before leaving the village, I took one last look at the crowd with rivers of blood. Perhaps some people can survive, but death won't be too long away. The girls stood at the fork in the road outside the village, looking at the different roads in front of them, losing their direction. "Little cousin, can we really go out like this now? Will someone treat us like monsters when we go to other places?" Zihui from Ju's family lowered her head silently and whispered, "My mother said that the needle and thread seal is bad luck, but I am in too much pain. Can I still open it?" Hearing their words, I tried to cheer up, wiped away my tears, and took Zihui's hand. Looking into her eyes, he said firmly, "What bad luck? What good fortune? They are all lies. These are just excuses for those villains. If we can't get out after crossing a mountain, let's climb another one, and we will definitely be able to get out." The girls around seemed to have renewed hope in their eyes, pointing to the road ahead and saying, "The road under our feet is right here, and we must live for ourselves once." Not long after, the first girl began to take steps, dragging her painful body step by step, but her footsteps never stopped, followed by the second and third. When we all walk towards our hearts, no amount of evil spirits can stop us.